report that the CIA is using harsh interrogation techniques that are pretty much torture. I really feel like it undermines our American values and our honor as Americans. I was wondering if you would support one standard for detainee treatment that would apply to the military and the CIA and our contractors that does outlaw these sort of tactics.
Let me just say the issue is torture, my friends. And one of the interesting things about the Republican debates that we've been in is that a number of the people are running who think we ought to use torture. The interesting thing about those people that think we ought to use torture, they've never served in the military. When I talk to retired military leaders such as General Colin Powell and many others, they are adamant against the use of torture. And I agree with them. I called up a general who's a great man and a great leader. His name is Vesey. Most people don't know him. He was once chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And I said, General, what do you think about the use of torture? He said, Senator McCain, any information that we could gain by the use of torture could never counterbalance the damage that it does to America's image in the world. And he's right. He's exactly right. And there's another aspect of this. You know, we're going to be in other wars. I'd like to tell you there's never going to be another war, but there's going to be other wars. And I'm afraid there's going to be other wars in which American fighting men and women may be captured. Now, if one of our men and women are captured and we torture people, what do you think is going to happen to our men and women if they're captured? And obviously the answer is obvious. And I want to just mention on a personal note that one of the things that sustained us in Vietnam, in prison camp there, where the Vietnamese regularly tortured my friends, was that we knew if the positions were reversed, we would not do to them what they were doing to us, which gave us the moral high ground. Now, I'm not exactly sure I would do exactly the same techniques. There may be something very minor in addition. But I would make very clear that no agency of American government under any circumstances would ever do anything that could ever be perceived as torture to anyone in our captivity. Okay?
I appreciate your war plan and I support it. So I want to switch back to the health care plan.
Good.
The one thing I did not hear you discuss or address, and this is just your comment, something we should think about, the way to curb and hold in the healthcare insurers, such as the Blue Cross Blue Shields, the United Healthcares, the Aetnas, all those people who take our money for our insurance to pay for our medical bills, but then in fact when we go to the physician, they frequently don't cover what we're doing. I don't know if you're aware, but about 4 or 5 years ago, the CEO of United Healthcare retired with a $1 billion a year retirement plan. And I'm just wondering how many of us missed out on health care because of the money being, well, that I consider being misused.
Thank you. I tried to address that by saying that any organization, a church, this school, whoever it is that wants to engage in providing health insurance should be able to do so. I think that would be competition. Second thing is, for years I have fought for and argued for an HMO Patients' Bill of Rights. Patients deserve a Bill of Rights to a certain level of care and response. Did I forget anything, Dan?
I think the ability to buy policies anywhere you want. You don't
Yeah.
have to go to United Direct any longer.
Dan Crippen, who is my health care advisor, he's on a work release program and he's doing a fine job with it since he's back. Yeah, his bracelet is on him. But if we had a dramatic increase in the health care providers and the insurers, then maybe this kind of competition would reduce some of those abuses. And I know the case you're talking about. It just makes you cringe when you hear about it. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Since the military is a key issue for you, I was wondering if you were to become president, one, what sort of person would you want as your Secretary of Defense? And two, how much of the budget would you try to allocate for the military spend?
I think the present amount of money that we are spending is probably not enough, given that we're going to have a conflict in Afghanistan for a long time. The good news about Afghanistan is that there's a lot of other countries that are there with us. But I have to tell you in straight talk, there's some real problems in Afghanistan. The poppy crop is up, there's corruption, and the Taliban is making a comeback in some areas. Not as much as some feared, but it's going to be a bit of a struggle. Person I would want for Secretary of Defense would have to have, obviously, the leadership qualities, the experience, etc., that you might expect me to say. But I'd also say that one of the most difficult issues we have today, that President Eisenhower warned us about many years ago, is defense procurement. It is that the costs are out of control, we're buying the wrong kind of equipment, and the costs to the taxpayers are unacceptable. And there's also a whole lot of pork barrel spending that comes out of defense, which has nothing to do with defense, which should be vetoed, and the president should have the line item veto to do it. And, I guess it was 2 years ago, we decided to build a small Navy ship. It's supposed to be $160 million. We stopped at $400 million, we finally scrapped it. You can't do that. You can't spend $400 million of the taxpayers' money on a ship and just simply scrap it. And by the way, as far as I know, there was no penalty to the defense corporation that built it. In the days of Ronald Reagan, we had fixed cost contracts. Now they have a thing that all of us would love to have. All of us in business would love to have, and that's called cost plus. You know, then you can't do it for the money you get when it costs some more, charge some more. So I think it would be somebody that has great experience. I'll tell you a guy that comes to mind, and he would kill me for saying it, but I will tell you, I'm sure you've heard of FedEx, and I know you know of FedEx. The head of FedEx is a guy named Fred Smith. He was a Marine Corps pilot in Vietnam. He had this idea that people would pay money to have their packages delivered very quickly and on time, and now we have FedEx. He understands. He buys airplanes all the time for FedEx. He knows what it is to make sure that everything is done on time and efficiently. And he's not the only one in American industry today. There's a number of others. And those are the kind of people, I'll tell you, that I would go to these people who have done very well in America. And I'd say, you've done very well in America, now come and work for $1 a year and give back to America something that you gave, that you have received. And I believe that you would see quite a positive response from a lot of them. Yes, here's what's your plan. Now, maybe you might tell everybody, since they may not know of you and your organization and what your cause is, because I think it's a worthy cause, and so you might want to tell everyone.
Sure. Well, like you said, we're with What's Your Plan. We're a national campaign, and we're trailing presidential candidates across the state, and we're asking them to outline their plans for important issues that young people really care about, like global warming, which is actually what I was going to ask you about, college affordability, healthcare, and financial security. And I was wondering, I'm Alec Griffiths, and I was wondering if you could outline your plan for global warming.
I'll be glad to. And I want to thank you, all three of you, for your involvement in a cause greater than yourself. That's what America is supposed to be all about. In the year 2000, I traveled around the state of New Hampshire, and every town hall meeting, some young person would stand up and say, what are you going to do about climate change? And I didn't know anything about climate change in 2000. Went back to the Senate after I lost. Sorry I brought that up. After I lost in South Carolina, I slept like a baby. Sleep 2 hours, wake up and cry, sleep 2 hours.